word, because back then, that was the way we described it. And I would ask them if I was that. And I used to think that if they found out, that I was going to go to the local mental hospital. That's why last year when I went back home to visit family, the old mental hospital that I was so afraid of being in is now abandoned, and there's a hiking trail around it. And I went hiking around there with one of my friends. It was it was like I can't think of the word right now, but it was, what's the word, Brandy?
Like bittersweet, kind of, maybe?
No, it was like
therapeutic.
Therapeutic, thank you. It was like facing.
I haven't had to be the voice of reason.
Yeah, it was like I was facing a fear from my childhood, right? Anybody that wants to come up, if you want to come up and join the live, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to try and read some of these comments too. Left said Washington Dog Dad forever. Thank you. Yeah, I still have my Washington Dog Dad account on Instagram, but that's pretty much a private account. Yeah. Does anybody have cases or questions about James's story? It shows the red on the side. I'm trying to figure out, Left, you're the one that said your battery.
How did you already talk about how you and James met?
We met, oh God, no, I didn't. So I moved to Florida at the end of 92, and let's see, it had to have been, it was 94 when James and I met. It had to be like around 94, because I was with somebody for a little bit at the very beginning of 94. And then he and I were friends for a long time. And then he and I broke up. And after that, I healed for a while. And then I decided to put myself back into the dating pool. But back then, we didn't have apps and things like that. We had ads. Like, we literally would put an ad in the paper, like M for M, male for male. Like, and then you would exchange numbers. It was, I can't even remember, but I think it was done. I think it was done like either through the newspaper, and you had a number that you could call and get like a voice message or get the call. But I remember we eventually decided to meet at a diner. That was our first date. We met at a diner, and then the second date we met at a bar, and it was Bedrocks. It was a bar that's not even around anymore. Yeah, and we started dating. I mean, we both had a lot in common. We both were nature nuts. We both loved being out in nature, kayaking, things like that. Going to the beaches. We both loved gardening. So, and he was very very out and about. James loved the Pride events. We loved going to gay days at Disney. He always had rainbows all over everything. He was very proud of, being a part of the community.
There's a pretty good question in the comments right here from, I can't read it because my color blindness. Husband, can you read this one? I can't see the screen.
I could change the background too. Let's see.
I would like to know. Hold on, my husband keeps touching it. Right here by Miss Tammy. He touched the butt. Okay. I would like to know if any person of power was in the fight for justice directly afterwards. That is a great question.
Any person of power? Here, I'm going to change it to something where I could see. Okay. They said, can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
I would like to know if any person of power was in the fight for justice directly afterwards.
No, I would love to get somebody in a position of power to get in the fight for justice. No, if anything, the people that were in power were fighting against us. Like, they literally, Bernie McCabe was the Florida attorney, the Florida, what do they call it? State attorney, essentially. And at the time, Bernie McCabe considered it a quote unquote justified homicide. justified. Like, because, and the reason that he considered it justified was because the officers were trying to say that James was fighting back. But there was no, like, he wasn't breaking any laws. They did find in the civil suit that they broke his civil rights by trying to arrest him in the first place because he wasn't breaking any laws. So that came out in the civil suit. So they violated his First Amendment rights, his freedom of speech, his freedom of religion. They violated those. They had no reason to arrest him in the first place. So if anything, like, I still don't understand how they were able to consider it justified. He wasn't even fighting back.
You have another question of who was the oh, goodness gracious, who was the attorney filing the suit?
It was for the civil suit. God, who was it? It was a big one. It might have even been Morgan and Morgan. I'd have to look. Hold on. Let me see if I could find the documentation. Because I have that somewhere. I know I have it at least on my computer, if not on my phone. Let's see. Effects. Boy, I'm becoming a pro at putting up these photos now.
Gee, I'm glad I'm here to help with that.
You know what? Just for that. Never mind. I won't do it. I was going to post a really skanky picture of Brie Larson.
About her today.
No, exactly. Let's see. I think somewhere I have screenshots from the court case. I may not have them on this phone, though. Let's see. Maybe it mentions it in here. Now, see, this is public information. They talk about his former partner. They're referring to Mario, and Mario is mentioned in another one as well. So this is not information. Kane Allen tried to say that I put the information out there about Mario. That's not true. The information was already out there by the press. And this is these are all articles that I have given to people, and they have literally taken these articles and twisted them to fit their own narratives so that they can try and put me in the shoes of Mario, because they want to blame me for his unaliving, which is like completely disgusting. They know nothing about the situation. They're going to take truths and twist it and smear it and make it seem like something else. Violent arrest.
It's crazy because the story did change quite a few times.
Bernie McCabe letter fishing. Oh yeah, look at this. While I have found no criminal wrongdoing on the part of the officers, I do believe Officer Tactic exercised poor judgment, wrote State Attorney Bernie McCabe. That's all they determined it to be, was quote unquote poor judgment. And saying that he didn't do any criminal wrongdoing. If that was any other citizen, you know damn well, if it wasn't an officer, he would have been arrested.
You have another question that says, did the aunt say, thank you for changing the screen, did the aunt say James was pushing her?
No, I spoke to her that day. That's what I was saying earlier. They may not have been in here. But the aunt called me that day within hours of all this happening. Because like I said, on the way home from when I was coming home from visiting my goddaughter, I called James. He didn't pick up, obviously. I didn't know what was going on, but I had called him, left a message, and his aunt called me back from his phone and said, so when I didn't reach James, I called somebody else. So his aunt called back from his phone, and when the phone rang, and I just basically let it go to voicemail because I was on a new call now. Like, James wasn't available. I left a message. She called back, left a message. And when I called back, I knew when I got her message calling from his phone, and the way she said it was like, she said, call me back and I could tell you what happened. And I'm like, what the fuck does she mean? What happened? Like, I knew something was bad, because why wasn't James calling me from his own phone, right? So at this point, I had no idea what was going on. I call her back and she told me everything that happened blow by blow, because she was the one that was there with him and she witnessed the whole thing. So she told me, and for those that didn't hear the story earlier, sorry, I'm just gonna. Thankfully, you can't see anything here. But she was the one that told me that when the officer told her to go out and tell him to get out of the water, again, for no crime committed, he wasn't breaking any laws. He just found out from her that he was gay when she said he got some upsetting news from an ex-boyfriend. She went out to the water, tapped him on the shoulder. Sorry, I'm multitasking, trying to find a new picture to put up. She tapped him on the shoulder and said, honey, you got to get out of the water. And he said, according to her, he said, no, bitch, if you're not going to help me, I'm going to do this on my own. And he just put up his hand. The way she described it was, she said, Joe, you know how when somebody says no, they just put up their hand like they're saying no, and it's just like a stop motion? She goes, that's all he did, was he just put up his hand. And before I knew it, the officer was in the water with one hand behind his back in a handcuff and shoving his face under the water. That's what she told me herself. This kid, Richardson, it's actually Dustin Richardson. I spoke to this kid. He was a kid at the time. I tried to reach out to him as an adult. Him and his sister and his family, they all witnessed it. I got to speak to the mother 3 years ago. She said that her kids were evidently very devastated by this whole thing. So I found the family, like I found these people, because I spoke to him back then, and he said that the officers, when they had all the witnesses in the rooms, this kid that left this comment himself told me himself back in 2012 that when the officers had them all in the room, they wouldn't let them leave. They kept changing their stories on their statements. They would tell them what they saw, and the officers kept changing the stories, and they wouldn't let them leave until they signed paperwork basically agreeing to what the officers were putting down. So they said that they kept them there for hours, and every time they gave their statements, the officer would write something else down and like change the wording of it. And they were like, no, that's not what happened. No, that's not what happened. And they got so tired, eventually they just agreed, signed whatever they needed to sign, and then they got let go. And then the guy that you see in the picture here, that's Carl. That's the guy that you hear on the one that you mentioned, Brandy, the one that says he was trying to breathe, the one that actually took the video recording of them doing CPR. That's Carl. That I also spoke with him. Carl, the guy that you see in the hat looking to the left in this very screenshot here. His name's Carl. I spoke with him as well. He was another witness. He said the same thing. Basically, the police were all, basically questioning them and asking what happened. His was the only footage that they didn't delete. Everybody else that had footage on cell phones, they took everybody's cell phones and they took their quote unquote videos as evidence and deleted them off their phones. This is in 2012 though, so you got to also think cell phones weren't what they are today back then. You know what I mean? Like, I think we were only on Apple iPhone 2 back then. So things were much different. Like things like this and all the shit that was happening in Florida is what encouraged people to start recording more. The other guy, you can even hear it. If you guys go to my YouTube, on my profile, there's a link to my Instagram and a link to my YouTube. On my YouTube, you'll see a video. If you scroll back, you'll see an 11 and a half, less than 12-minute video of the interview that I did with Joe. His name is also Joe. So there's me, Joe, the officer that killed him, Joe, and the guy that tried to save James's life is also Joe, the off-duty fire marshal. He's the one that I did the interview with, and he even talks about it. He was one of the key witnesses. He was the first one there, other than the aunt and the girl that ran up the beach to come get him. And he said he pretty much witnessed the entire thing, and the police held him there all day. But because he was an off-duty fire marshal and because he's the one that performed CPR and tried to save James's life, they never even took a witness statement from him. They kept him at the beach all day. As he says himself, they sequestered him all day and then never got a statement from him. And he kept trying to follow up, and nobody would ever take a statement from him or do anything with his information. I'm the only one that actually interviewed and posted anything about anything from that man. The one that when you watch the video, you can see him say, that's me. I'm the guy in the blue shorts. I could probably play the video, but do you think I would get a? I mean, my live is only it is 18 plus. I'm just
I
afraid they
think
would
you'll
take
be
it down.
fine. Because I think it's important for people to really hear that man when he describes what happened, because just to hear in his voice him saying that he couldn't breathe, it's very powerful, and I think that's just my opinion. I don't think I don't think anything's gonna happen, like your live's gonna get taken down or anything, because you are 18 live or 18 and over.
Can you guys do me a favor? Can you guys share this out? And I'm gonna get ready to play. Like, tap this. Oh wow, you guys are really tapping. I got 20,000 likes. Tap the screen, share
Got
it out.
22.9 actually.
Nice. Tap the screen, share it out, and I'm gonna pull up YouTube on my iPad, and I'm gonna do it that way. I'm gonna point my camera at the screen and just play it on my iPad and let everybody hear it out. But yeah, I don't want to play this. This is really hard for me to watch. I have the video up, but I really do not watch it often, because even to this day, this video was extremely hard for me to make. It was extremely emotional, and it wore me down just to make this video, having to look at. So be prepared.
Keep
There's
tapping.
Yeah, and if you can, share it out, because I don't want to play this video twice. Like I said, it's still, even though I made it, the video took a lot for me to make. It breaks me down still to watch it, to hear things. Sometimes I do better than others, but it is a difficult thing for me to watch. So if you guys can, there's even people, I don't know if you guys know, there's people in the Fold. There's Selena the Fold. They say they stand for the LGBTQ plus community, but Selena the Fold, Obis, Labyrinth, whatever she wants to go by, she literally made videos of my friend who was murdered singing next to the officer who offed him. Like, this is the level of disgusting that some people on this internet go through just to try and hurt somebody else because they get called out for something that they did foul, or because they don't like the person, or because their friends.
It's mainly because they're trying to divert attention off of them.
Well,
and
a lot of
shit
it is
they're doing.
they're doing it for their friends. Celine even admitted that she did it for Kane Allen. All right, so I'm going to get ready to play this video here. Let me take this screen off. But yeah, if you guys can share this out, I'm going to share it out to a few people right now. Just bear with me. Let's see, Granny, Great Landini. If you guys could share it out to anybody right now, I'm going to try and get some more people in here so I can play this, and then I'll play the video.